everybody, Mike here. Thanks for watching. The other day the family and I went camping at one of our favorite spots and I took the drone to do some flying. There's this beautiful ridge that I've seen before that I've always wanted to fly at sunset. So late one evening the wind totally stopped and I got the drone in the air and we gave it a quick try. I had some problems on this flight which I overcame, and I'll share with you some of the lessons I learned the hard way. The launch site was in this very narrow clearing in the woods and I had to fly out of it and fly straight back into it. But the real big concern in this flight was looking back into the sun when I flew back to home. Normally when I fly, I like to sit down. For this flight, I had to stand up so that my controller could clear some bushes that were right in front of me, which I'm not used to doing. But the minute I took off, I knew this was going to be a real issue, turning around and heading back into the sun. Not being able to see the takeoff spot, especially lost in the trees. And sure enough, my suspicions were confirmed. This was really hard to see where I was going. Landing was going to be tough. Anyways, I decided to give it a go and started flying out just a little bit of a distance away from the sun towards the ridge. And then I decided I would turn around as I normally do and look back at the home site. That's when I discovered, yes, I was looking directly into the sun, heading back towards the takeoff spot. At one point I dropped down here just to sort of get below the sun and get into the shadow, but I got too low and almost hit the trees. I'm looking at the cliff here and I don't see the campsite at all. So for a few seconds there I was disoriented. So I slowly worked my way back towards the takeoff spot, and then I noticed that I could see the smoke from the campfire that we had, and decided that would be a good landmark for me to find when flying back. So I decided to turn back around and head towards the ridge and go a little further out. Something worth noting here, the video I just changed from unstabilized to the gyroflow stabilized version. Oh, that's going to be the way to do it. Look for the smoke. Just follow this ridge, keep the altitude about even to where I took off, and just look for the smoke. I decided I'd fly out a short distance, turn around and take a good look at what it looks like, and film the ridge at least, and do sort of a mock landing. Since I had lots of battery power, now was the time to do it. So I made a simulated landing approach. Was concentrating on flying back into the sun, trying to see if I could discern the takeoff spot. At this one point here, I got a little too far to the south, and I was getting some blockage from trees, and so I corrected, and sure enough, there was the smoke. So I felt a lot more comfortable that I could see the takeoff spot with the smoke. That was going to be my key to finding this location coming back. I would just look for the smoke and just deal with the sun glare. So I began the flight towards the ridge with the sun on my back and decided to go for it. Another purpose of this flight was to test some exposure settings on my GoPro. I've never flown this late in the day, and I had an ND filter on, so I wanted to see what it would look like and if this exposure was any good. That was the real intent of this, is to nail this exposure on the GoPro for future flights. Now about this time, the bugs are starting to bug me, living up to their name, and I'm by myself trying to deal with mosquitoes in my ears and on my neck and those sort of things. So I flew down this little slide area and started heading down the ridge. But by now I was starting to get a little bit disoriented because I was standing and flying and had nothing to lean up against really. So I decided, you know, I've had enough of this. I'm going to start heading back and err on the side of caution. I was still quite a bit nervous from the lack of visibility when landing, and I wanted to make sure I had plenty of battery power when attempting my landing. So I decided to just call the flight early. Normally I can fly for about 18 to 20 minutes, and you know, a 6-minute flight is a short flight for me. So basically I just headed on back, got some shots of the ridge coming back, and was looking for the smoke. Pretty much flying blind here. Pretty much just flying along and looking for the smoke, and sure enough, there it is. I see it. So I'm checking my speed and dropping my altitude and working on aligning up for the final approach. As you can see, I've got a very narrow corridor to go down. So all this recent practice of trying to learn how to land is starting to pay off here. Just got to make sure we clear some bushes and not give myself a haircut. And I almost put it down on the spot. Once again I missed. Oh well. So once again I survived the odds and came back and landed this thing and didn't lose it in the woods. I learned a few lessons on this flight. The first one was that I need to really mitigate the bugs somehow. The second thing is I'm used to sitting down, so I just need to always sit down. But the third thing I learned also is that flying with the sun to your back and heading back to home right into the sunlight, that's a real problem. You need to really think twice before you start doing it. In this case, having the campfire and the smoke really helped. If it wasn't for that, I'd have a lot more difficulty, but I probably would see the yellow tent. Anyways, got back, got some good video, got some good tests. Now I got a really good idea of the exposure to use for this sort of lighting. And thanks for watching. There'll be more fun coming soon.